Hey everyone, and welcome back to Practically Zero Waste, a podcast for making zero waste living as practical as possible. Welcome to episode 27. Oh yeah. If you're enjoying this podcast, I want to invite you all again to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. You just scroll down to the bottom and there it is. I love hearing what you think of the show, and it helps me get a sense of the kinds of content people are most interested in, so keep those reviews coming. The podcast has an email address, so if you want to ask a question or just say hello, that's practicallyzerowaste@gmail.com. And of course, if you're interested in supporting our little ad-free podcast, you can go to anchor.fm/practicallyzerowaste and hit the support button. I am so excited to share today's episode with you, an interview with Dayna Stein, the founder of Bear Market in Toronto, all about her company's ethical and sustainable, package-free body and home care products. Amazing. We talk everything from making low-waste living accessible and affordable to that ultra-satisfying sound of shaving your legs with a stainless steel safety razor. Oh, the pleasures of living waste-free. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what was life like before Bear Market? What were you up to?
Before Bear Market, I was a consultant. I worked on projects across sectors related to creating more sustainable food systems and developing social enterprises.
What were you doing?
We worked with the public sector, so we worked with food policy councils across Ontario. We worked with universities. We worked with lots of different places. Why am I not thinking of any of them at the moment?
Because that wasn't the important part of this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's great.
It was basically, how do we create more effective, efficient, culturally appropriate, food secure systems in place, regardless of what the organization we were working with.
That's fantastic.
There's a lot of people working on sustainable food systems.
Wonderful.
In Toronto and across the country. It's actually, food systems in general is really my passion and my area of expertise, I would say. And there's a lot of cool things going on. And what I really like about food is that it brings people to the table. Everyone has something to say about food, and it's kind of a conversation starter too.
You started Bear Market. Tell me a little bit about what it is and where the idea came from.
So Bear Market is Toronto's one-stop shop for package-free goods. We offer affordable and locally sourced DIY ingredients, home care products, body care products, and eventually we'll also have food in bulk.
Wow.
And basically, as we've been looking for the perfect permanent location, we've been popping up around the GTA for almost a year now, actually, just to bring package-free goods to neighborhoods all over the city.
That's brilliant to do a pop-up. I hadn't thought of doing that. Most people just go for kind of an online route.
I would say pop-ups are probably a little bit more complex. The reason we're doing the pop-up model is because we want a permanent location, and the pop-ups allowed us to do market research, to say these are the areas in Toronto where people are interested, and it allowed us to talk with our potential future customers and say, what are the things you like? What are the things you don't like? How can we make this more accessible for you? And really start to get to know people.
The pop-up model, so that allows you to go just about anywhere. What are the main areas that you go to?
We started last summer mostly at farmers markets around the GTA.
Nice.
And then we also reached out to Patagonia, Toronto, and basically built the business case of why they should let us come and pop up in their space. We're values aligned companies, and we kind of spelled it out for them, and they really didn't need us to spell it out for them. They are absolutely in love with what we're doing and really wanted to support us in any way. And so we've been popping up at Patagonia basically every other week since July.
Wow.
And we'll continue to do that moving forward, but instead of every other week, we're moving it to once a month.
That is so cool. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What a great partnership, actually.
They've been the sole reason we are around at the moment. They are our number one biggest supporters. And then either on par or just below them, we have a ton of volunteers that support Bear Market. And we couldn't do it without either of those two main parties.
That's awesome. So where did the idea even come from in the first place to go from your earlier career to this?
Well, so when I was doing my undergrad degree, I was living in Vancouver, studying at UBC. I was studying food security and the impact of sustainable agriculture and health and community development. And I discovered the soap dispensary, which is basically a dedicated refill shop that helps customers reduce their waste. So this was in 2012. It's the first shop that I know of that offered package-free bulk goods, and they basically have everything we currently have. So DIY ingredients, body care, and home care products in bulk. Since then, just recently, over the last year, they have expanded to also stock food items as well, which is really exciting. I really love this idea of refilling and ditching single-use plastic, and it was really an easy way to create positive environmental impact and then also keep check of ingredients that I was putting on my body. That was something that was really important to me back then, and it still continues to be. I think I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about what is and isn't something to worry about now, but I'm still interested in it. And so I basically just really loved the fact that it felt so accessible to me. Even though it wasn't physically accessible, it ended up being a lot more financially accessible compared to the traditional products I was seeing at grocers and drugstores. Yeah, because you're only buying what you need. So you can go in there and you can get, 4 liters of shampoo, or you can go and you can get 2 tablespoons of shampoo, and we operate the same way. You're only paying for what you get, and because they're getting it in bulk, sometimes those stores are able to offer you lower pricing.
That is so brilliant. And you know what I don't think that I've heard of, other than you now and the soap dispensary, any places that are selling body care products exclusively in bulk. So there's lots of places now that are offering package-free bulk food, and some places that are offering maybe dish soap or maybe shampoo. But to offer things like charcoal powder and all the things to make your own makeup, and
we have 450 products at least. I haven't done a recount in a while. But yeah, we have everything from refillable makeup and hair gel to, beard oil, safe bleach, laundry powder, air freshener, DIY. So like carrier oils, essential oils, just butters, waxes, the list goes on and on and on. We're really trying to be your one-stop shop for anything package-free.
That's so phenomenal too, because so many people, their zero waste solution is to just make it themselves. But if the make it themselves ingredients are coming in packaging, then maybe it's coming in less packaging than if you were to buy it in a bottle every single time, but it's still not enough of a difference for some people, and so they're not making their home care products. It could probably
really add up if you're getting each of your DIY ingredients online. That's a lot of packaging each one is coming in. But yeah, a lot of people do turn to DIYing to help them reduce waste. I would say that's not the most accessible thing for everyone. No. Not everyone has the time to be able to create their own
or the interest
products.
Or the skill.
And also exactly, the skill, or trust themselves enough to make something that's actually effective.
Yeah.
It's certainly an affordable option for those who have the ability to invest in time in it.
I love that. Does Bear Market adhere to other values as well? I don't know, like ethical, fair trade, anything on top of being package free?
Never been asked it framed that way. So we don't specifically label ourselves with any sort of claims or certifications that we must abide by. Can I tell you a little bit about how we source our products?
Absolutely.
So basically, all of our bulk body care and home care products and DIY ingredients are reviewed by a third-party cosmetic chemist. Her name is Jen Novakovic. I really hope I said her last name right. And she is the founder of the EcoWell, and I really appreciate what she does because every bit of insight she gives is based in science, but also has a bit of a sustainability slant.
She has a podcast too, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. She does have a podcast.
Okay, cool.
So what she does is we hire her and she reviews all of the ingredients in all of our products before we go through purchasing them, and she tells us the environmental, social, or economic impacts, any negative ones if there are any of those ingredients, and from there we decide whether we're going to move forward with that product, whether we're going to move forward with a supplier. And if we do, sometimes we reach out to them and we say, hey, we really want to source this product from you. We're not loving this specific ingredient. Is there something we can do to either omit it altogether if it doesn't affect the quality of the product, or replace it with something that is a little bit more sustainable?
That's incredible.
Yeah, we do a lot of research.
Yeah, that's very thorough.
We're basically trying to do all the research so our customers don't have to. We really want to make things transparent. We want to be like a source of trustworthy information, and we're not going to be that if I'm just looking up on blogs what is and isn't sustainable and what is and isn't, healthy.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So what kind of negotiations have you had with manufacturers as well? If you have reached out directly to manufacturers, how do you even negotiate the package-free option as well as all of your other standards?
Yeah, that's a really long and complex sort of conversation we have. It's always a dialogue. It's never like, we want this, and if you don't do it, we're not purchasing from you. It's just,
Exactly,
it's more of,
yeah.
We're on this mission to do this. You have some products that we think are really great. We want to support you because you're a local producer. How can we work with you to move us both towards producing less waste? I would say a lot of people are really responsive to that, and a lot of suppliers also want to make change. I would say less so, the larger distributors who are just reselling other people's products. But if you go straight to the source, people are very willing to, at the very least, look into their systems and see if they can accommodate us.
That's wonderful. And if you're going to local businesses too, they're, possibly going to be more receptive to it as well, because you don't have to go through thousands of levels of bureaucracy within your company in order to make that call. You're allowed to say,
we could do that. We could present the business case for why a larger company should want to manufacture and produce in this way, but especially in the last few months, my time has become a bit more limited, and so I don't have the capacity for that. But more importantly, we want to support local producers anyways. It's just really a win-win-win, I would say.
I think that's so great. Who's producing things like shea butter and beeswax locally? Like, what are some of your top suppliers?
But specifically those products we don't get locally. Beeswax we will eventually, hopefully within the GTA, not just Ontario based, but really, really hyper local.
Wow.
Shea butter is from Ghana.
Yeah.
So a lot of our DIY ingredients are not locally procured simply because they're not in nature here.
Exactly.
99% of our bulk products are Canadian made.
That's
excluding
crazy.
the DIY ingredients.
That's amazing.
And if they're not Canadian made, they're sourced through a Canadian distributor.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You are just boosting the Canadian economy. Well done. So are you operating with a pretty small staff, or like you're talking about all of this kind of sourcing products as well as manning these booths, these pop-up booths every single week or every other week? Is it all you?
Yeah, we're a staff of one.
Oh my gosh, you're incredible.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because we 100% rely on volunteer work at the moment, and it's not a model that I love or subscribe to. Of course, if we had the financial ability to value people's time and effort the way that we think they should be valued, we would be operating this a little bit differently. But the hard reality is we're a small startup. We have no outside funding, and we have no ability to, based on our pop-up shop model, support anyone, let alone myself. Like, I still don't pay myself, especially because we're so very much volunteer based. It doesn't feel right to pay myself and not.
You're
pay
incredible.
You're
amazing.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Keep doing it. Just go for it, Dayna. And eventually, the money will come. But I love that you're doing this out of a passion.
And it's not that we don't have the ability to be profitable. Like, we're generating revenue. It's just because we're only selling once every other week, or it's not consistent enough to have someone on staff.
Exactly.
Is what I would say.
Yeah.
But the second we're able to move towards a more permanent space in operation is when we can hire people with the goal of hiring them at a living wage, and eventually looking into, employment social enterprise models to see if we can move in that direction. How
far away is the brick and mortar store, if you feel like saying?
We have been in lease negotiations for a few weeks now with one particular spot, but of course that could fall through at any second.
Yeah.
So we always have our eyes out for potential spots in the areas that we're interested in. And, our original goal was to be open in the summer of 2019. That's not going to happen. Right now, we could maybe squeeze it for fall, perhaps September or October. But it just really depends on how quickly we can get through these negotiations.
Yeah. Who is your audience currently? Where's your ideal spot to set up shop?
Yeah, they're different questions.
Yeah.
So our audience is largely women.
Yeah.
What I found from doing these pop-up shops is that we had an idea of who our demographic might be, but then we realized it's actually much more expansive than what we thought. So we get people that are 13 years old and like 70 years old that come by our pop-up shops.
That's awesome.
And everywhere in between, of all race, creed, nationality. Like, everyone comes by because they're just so engaged, and it's the first time that people have seen something like what we're doing. It at the scale that we're doing it at.
Yeah.
I think what we were trying to do is make it feel easy to create a little bit of behavior change in your own life. And so when people come to us and see what we're doing, they feel that, oh, if I just like bring my own container or borrow one of yours and fill up a little bit, like I'm making that one piece of environmental impact in my purchasing behaviors and in my life, and they can feel proud of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. So our demographic is largely women. It's really hard for me to set an age because we really do get everything and anything.
Yeah.
Probably concentrated 20 to 35-year-olds. But in terms of location, like we get customers from all over the GTA and beyond.
Yeah.
So when we did a pop-up shop a few months ago at Providence Healthcare, which is St. Clair, and so just in Scarborough, we had people come from Peterborough.
Hey, that's me.
Is it?
It wasn't me, but that's where I live.
It was two sisters and their mother had taken off work because that was the first time that we were somewhat close to where they lived.
Wow.
And they had come for the day just to fill up at Bear Market. So people are coming from everywhere. When we go to the West End, people from the East End come and fill up.
Wow.
And where we're looking for a permanent spot is in the East End. And the reason is that we feel that the West End has quite a bit of access already to refill assets.
Okay.
Whereas the East End has a similar demographic of interested people, but very limited refill asset, and certainly no all-in-one stop for package-free goods. I mean, I still feel that nowhere in the city has that. We're excited by the number of businesses that are popping up and, getting on the bandwagon.
Of course. I think it's so exciting that you want to be, I mean, it also seems really smart from a business side of things, but it's so good to make these products accessible to people in a part of town that maybe you wouldn't have found it before. So that's wonderful.
Accessibility, both financial and physical accessibility, are two of our most important tenets and values of Bear Market. So in the beginning, when we were doing our pop-up shops, we made it part of our location scouting for these pop-ups that we had to be in spaces that were not well resourced. So at the time, we were specifically looking at areas that didn't have a lot of food assets in the immediate vicinity. Again, my background being in food, and the fact, food security is a really important topic that I had worked on a lot before Bear Market. And so, we went to the Malvern Farmers Markets a number of times. We went to the Bathurst Finch Community Hub Farmers Market a number of times. And that was specifically to bring these goods to areas that otherwise don't have access to them. It wasn't because we were going to make a huge amount of profit in that area, not that we really did any of our pop-ups, specifically the farmers market ones, but because we really thought it was important to increase access.
I want to see more of that, because it's not the areas that have access to a Whole Foods or anything that has, any sort of bulk package-free goods. It's areas that only have access to Freshco or No Frills. Not to say that they don't have unpackaged things, just talking about food in general as an entryway for buying package free. Yes. But they offer quite a bit less package free, and so it's not accessible to buy things without waste, but it's also not accessible to buy things cheaply without waste. And so to be able to access or put yourself out into these kinds of areas, even especially with your pop-up shops, because it allows you to have a lot more mobility. I think it's awesome. Are you going to continue to do pop-ups after you get your brick and mortar store? Once you have a staff of like 30 and you can, distribute the workload.
I would love to say yes, at the very least, to pop up at Patagonia maybe once every 2 months or so. But our pop-up shops are a labor of love. They are a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we get many of our bulk liquids in 20-liter containers.
Oh my gosh, you have to haul that.
Yeah, so that's all in our storage space. And
Okay.
then we pour them from those containers, or whatever containers they come in, into 4-liter or 2-liter glass jugs.
Wow.
With pumps on them. And so that process of filling those containers alone takes me 2 full days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then glass jars are quite heavy. Glass jars with liquid in them are even heavier. And then we pack them into my car with, like, we play Tetris in there, and we get every single little thing in. It's absolutely madness. We post some stories on Instagram sometimes. I can send you one, Ethan.
I will totally check those out.
And then we drive them to these locations across the city. And I mean, that's not exactly in line with our values either. It's not the most carbon efficient way to provide access to goods.
No one's going to tell you to bike your stuff over to your pop-up shop.
No. Fair enough. But even in terms of time and energy that it takes to do that, it's a lot. So instead, I mean, again, it would be great to have a pop-up at Patagonia every so often, but we're going to focus on the permanent location and then online distribution. So just last week, we launched our online store.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it was a long time coming, and
that's
took
wonderful.
A lot of work. So we're really excited to see it finally come to fruition. And right now we only have non-bulk goods on there. So basically our lifestyle essentials to help you reduce waste. So, you know, replacements for disposable razors, which would be like your safety razor, and, you know, plastic-free dish brushes and toilet brushes and all sorts of stuff like that. Not things that people necessarily have to consume. We certainly don't want people to just buy things on our store because it's a package-free store, and they're like, I can reduce waste by buying this. No.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I 100% am supporting this store and this enterprise, but I also strongly disagree that you need to buy anything in order to be zero waste. And so I love that you're saying that. Continue.
It's kind of contradictory.
It is.
As a business, we're in this really tricky space where we have to balance.
Totally.
Okay, well, we need people to buy some things so we can live.
Exactly.
And then, like, as a business, and then we don't want them to buy things they don't need. Yeah. But how do we get that messaging across? It's very
shop with us, but don't shop unless you have to shop. Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. So we really encourage people that if they have items that are perfectly good or like in relatively okay working condition, hold on to them, because the most sustainable thing you can do is use your products until the very end. Yeah. And basically when it's time to dispose of that product, to compost it, to recycle it, to donate it, then we're there for a more sustainable option to replace that item. Don't come to us beforehand.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of what it will look like to buy things in bulk online?
So right now we're doing non-bulk items. I think relatively soon, hopefully in the next month or so, we can phase in bulk powders. So like laundry powder, charcoal, activated charcoal, facial cleansing grains we have that are powder. There's a few things we can, because it's easier to distribute those, say in a plastic, not a plastic bag, in a paper bag.
It's okay.
And I mean, that's the other thing that brings up. Sorry, I'm going off on so many different tangents here.
Go for it.
Specifically, we do not call ourselves a zero waste store. We don't use that framing. We are a package-free store, which is not always completely literal, but basically we don't believe that as an individual or as a small business of our size be zero waste. It's not feasible. It's not practical.
Very astute. Continue.
Yes. So we don't want to call ourselves that because it's not transparent and it's basically lying. But anyways, I digress. What was I talking about before that? Oh yeah, bulk stuff online.
Yeah, exactly.
So powders can come online pretty soon. In terms of liquids, that's a bit more difficult.
It would be.
We certainly have some peers that we can look to who are doing it well, both in Toronto and in Canada, and even in America. There's a few companies that do bulk refills.
Oh, awesome.
None of the ones do it in the same way that we might want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's very complex. First of all, the one thing that we need to take into account is how do we deliver these goods in a container that's not going to break and it's not going to be too heavy, or else it's no longer feasible because shipping in Canada is super expensive. And even when the customer doesn't pay for it, we absorb it, and basically there's no such thing as free shipping. But anyways, it's more about how do we then get that container back from the customer, clean it, sanitize it, and refill it, and then send it out again.
It's a huge operation, eh?
Yes. And originally we could have gone the route of doing online distribution, get a warehouse space, and that's what we would focus on. I just feel that it's really important to move towards, how do I say this? Basically, Bear Market is trying to nudge behavior change, and I don't think that just doing online delivery and someone receiving a package the next day with some refill soaps is enough to incentivize them to want to change their behavior over the long term. So they may have done it once and they may have been like, oh yeah, that was cool, but what's incentivizing them to keep doing that same behavior? And I have this inkling of a feeling that if we can have a physical space that's a community space where we have workshops and classes, that people can come together around these topics and have a story to tell and, have pictures to share of the space and what they did there, that will lead towards sustained behavior change. And really that's what we need to address the larger issues that we're facing.
I like that too. And behavior change is something that we're talking a lot about on the podcast, just trying to encourage people to make these everyday changes that are going to stick. Don't do something dramatic like throw out all your things to say that you're a minimalist, because then you're going to continue to accumulate things in the same patterns that you were before. But if you are every day making little changes and having them stick in your mind, so learning how to make this product from home and buying all of the bulk ingredients that you need package free from Bear Market, you're going to continue, or from anywhere, but it's an incredible resource to have. And you're going to continue to make these behavior changes over time because, you've run out of this product and you have to make more, then you can order more from Bear Market because you had a good experience, right? Like, to be able to change your mindset is going to be way more valuable than if people just try a sample and
totally
never pick it up again.
It's like a diet, a fad diet. People go on it and they lose the weight, and 2 months later, a year later, 5 years later, it doesn't matter when. If it's not a lifestyle change that you're making, it's it's not going to happen.
So we were talking about some other similar kinds of shops. They're not quite doing what you're doing, but do you have anybody who's inspiring you in kind of like the low waste community at all lately?
100%, and always the soap dispensary in Vancouver.
Yes.
They are just amazing, and I haven't been back in Vancouver since 2015, and I'm sure they've grown immensely. I keep seeing them in the papers. I'm not sure how they're keeping up with demand. I'm sure that's probably a struggle for them, but they're certainly a company that I look up to across the country. There's a lot of really small businesses popping up all across Canada, in Waterloo and in Sarnia and in Aurelia. There's these amazing refill spaces that are coming to fruition, or have all actually already opened. We're the last ones, really.
Not the last. There will be more.
Of course, and there needs to be more. I mean, Bear Market doesn't want to be the only one-stop shop in the city. We want lots of different businesses getting on the train. You know what I mean?
So,
it shouldn't just be us, and it's not just us. There's others. Absolutely. And that's so amazing to see, and we hope that grows and grows. I
think it will. CBC was just interviewing Unboxed the other week, and so Unboxed is a new package-free focused store that is in food. Their big thing right now is package-free milk. You can just get bulk milk, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. And I think Unboxed is actually doing quite amazing things. They do describe themselves as zero waste, which
is a tricky word. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. I mean, to bring up the point of milk. Like, those come in 20-liter, 10-liter, 6-liter plastic bags. So it's not zero waste, but it's certainly low waste, and it's certainly helping people reduce waste. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I think even this podcast is called Practically Zero Waste. It's trying to make zero waste practical, but it's also acknowledging the fact that zero waste isn't, you can't fully do it, because even the big names like Bea Johnson, Lauren Singer, they're not creating no waste. They're still, producing a mason jar full or whatever. So like bulk stores, Bulk Barn here in Canada, and Bear Market and Unboxed, all of these places are creating some waste because they have to receive their goods in some fashion. And the system isn't perfect yet, that you send back containers to be refilled and they send it back to you. And so zero waste is a misleading term, but I don't want it to stop people, because it's also an inspiring term to try and work towards that.
Yeah, and I think as long as we're being transparent about it, and
exactly,
I think the Lauren Singers of the world, I think that image of having a mason jar full of trash, I think that can be a barrier to a lot of people.
I think it is. Yeah.
They think, how could I ever only produce that much trash? And then they'll never even try it. So
no.
The mason jar analogy I don't love, because I think it's a little bit debilitating towards getting people to jump on the movement, or like the everyday consumer to jump on the movement.
Yeah. Yeah, sustaining behavior change is so key in this entire operation, whether it's just on the, individual level or if it's on an industrial level. Behavior change is what's going to keep us going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the tricky conversation underneath it all that we're not really talking about, but we're kind of getting at with all of this stuff. It's like, it's scary to change behavior change, so we need to take it one step at a time, and it doesn't need to be scary. It can be fun. It can be like, oh wow, I can fill up on cleanser, and I can only purchase what I need, and that helps me budget and all this other things. Like, it's practical and it's kind of fun. You get to share that story with someone. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, the whole bigger conversation about how reducing your single-use plastic is important. It's going to keep that out of the landfill. It's going to keep it out of the ocean. It's going to keep it out of the woods near your house. But that's not the only thing that we can be doing. And I think that a lot of people maybe get overwhelmed by the fact that, climate change is reality and it's happening, and, the planet's heating up and the ocean levels are rising, and, we're all kind of doomed, but we're not, because there's things that we can do, and people making those tiny little changes every day, like reducing your waste and, learning how to be more eco-friendly is the solution on an individual scale, I think.
I love that you've brought that up, because that's so important to us too. A package-free store can have a direct impact on the amount of plastic pollution that shows up in our oceans and in our backyards, but to me it's so much more than that. Waste is actually this really fantastic lever to nudge behavior change around a number of other sustainability and social issues at all levels of the supply chain. And personally, these are issues that I think are more important than plastic pollution.
Yes.
And they're some of the ones that you just mentioned. And
Absolutely.
So I think our hope is that we'll encourage consumers to consider where their goods are coming from, and the economic and the social and the environmental systems that make that all possible, and then make it easier for them to do something about it.
Yeah, make it practical. What are some of your favorite products that you guys offer at Bear Market?
Should we go with like the practical products, the things that I use, or the ones that are cool?
Name a few that you actually use on a regular basis, and also like a handful that are just really cool that's offered in bulk.
Okay, so the plastic-free dish brush I've been using for a very long time.
Yeah. Are the bristles even plastic-free?
Yeah, so there's two options. One of them are horsehair bristles, and the other ones are Tampico fiber, which is a plant bristle, and that one's a little bit more abrasive. So I originally bought mine in Vancouver at the soap dispensary, and I had the Tampico fiber bristle first, and I had it up until this year.
Wow.
So that was like 6.5 years I had it for.
Wonderful.
And now it's a replaceable head. I keep it in the bathroom, and I use it to scrub down the bath. And now I put on a horsehair bristle, and I'm using that, although I like the other one better. Dish brush, really like that.
That's great.
And use it every day.
Yeah.
Dish soap, also not glamorous.
Yeah.
just what I use. A safety razor is probably one of my favorite products. It's a bit of an investment up front. Our razors cost anywhere between $20 and $56.
Yeah, I think I paid $40 for my first one, only one. Yeah.
But the blades are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So you're going to be saving money within the first year.
And it's such a nice shave.
It is. It's actually kind of gratifying. You know that sound it makes?
Yeah.
And it's like... I can't describe it all over.
Yeah, if you've used a safety razor, you know. It's got to go down in the book of awesome. It's a good feeling.
It's the best feeling.
That's great.
So that's another product that I love, and that is practical.
Yeah.
Reusable pads I love. The ones we carry are from a company called Upcycle Lifestyle, and she has basically a waste-free production line where she makes children's clothing, and then the off scraps from that clothing line she uses to make the largest pads, and then the off scraps from that she makes the smaller pads, and goes down and down in size until you get to our reusable facial round size. And then any scraps that are smaller than that she stuffs into dog beds and donates to the Humane Society.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That takes a lot of planning.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's also...
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting the most out of your money as a producer.
I think it's brilliant.
Too.
It's wonderful.
What else do I use? What are they called? The beeswax wraps. I use those all the time.
Yeah. Do you carry a certain brand that's local, or which one?
We carry a brand called Earthology. They're made in Toronto, and what I really love about this company is their commitment towards sustainability. So they have a beeswax version and a vegan version. And just to give an example, their vegan version, the waxes that they use for that are not from Ontario. They're not even necessarily from Canada. They're those DIY ingredient type products that come from wherever around the world. In comparison to their beeswax, which they get from like a local apiary, and they like strain it themselves, and it's super local.
Beautiful.
The vegan stuff, they actually pay for carbon offsetting for those ingredients. It's just like, yes, you're going the extra mile.
Oh my gosh. Okay, obviously I'm going to put all of the information for all of these products and companies that you've mentioned today in our show notes, but like, that is really cool.
It is, right? I would say, like, I don't necessarily use that many more products on a daily basis.
No, yeah.
Like, we have hundreds of products if you need them. That doesn't mean I use them specifically.
No, and that's why you have hundreds of different options, because everybody's going to want to use something slightly different. But I love hearing your real person reviews of those ones that you like. What are the coolest products?
Can I add one more?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, no, wait, what was your question?
I was going to say, what's the coolest stuff that you offer? But we'll get to that.
No, I think this is it.
Oh, cool.
I think it's really cool. Okay, I think our coolest product is our line of bulk makeup.
Oh,
and the reason I think that, okay, so we have liquid foundation, mineral foundation, tinted moisturizer, liquid concealer, lip balm, blush, bronzer, eyeshadow, color corrector, brow color, and probably some others I'm missing. We have those all in bulk. They are Canadian made, they're mineral based, and they're 45 to 65% off the same brand in a retail store.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so like, can I contextualize it a little bit?
Please do.
Okay, so liquid foundation. I'm not even a person that uses makeup very often, but I'm just like, I get so excited that I can literally get it, like a little teaspoon of blush if I want it.
Exactly.
And not get the packaging that's associated with it, but also not get the pre-prescribed amount that comes in a prepared packaging product in a normal store.
You don't have to commit to a whole container that you're never going to use the whole thing of.
To give an example, and you can cut this out if you want, but I want to tell
Maybe
you,
I won't.
It's so cool.
Keep going.
Okay, so liquid foundation, you know how at Shoppers Drug Mart, most liquid foundations come in these like little plastic triangular shaped bottles?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are about 30 mils.
Okay.
And this same brand would sell that for $25 in a retail store.
Okay.
And with us, you can either bring your own packaging, or we have some that it could fit in. You can fill as much or as little as you want, but if you filled it all the way to 30 milliliters, that would be about $10 to $11 worth of product.
Whoa.
It's just obscene savings. And to be fair, I can't say the same about all of our products. Like, makeup is certainly a product that we're able to give larger discounts than other things, and we're able to give more of a discount when we get more of a discount from our suppliers. Yeah. Our products are not comparable to what you're going to find in Walmart or in Shoppers necessarily. Some of them are going to be cheaper, and a lot of them are going to be a little bit more expensive, because we have this purchasing policy to get the products that are environmentally, socially, and economically more sustainable.
Which is what people should be paying for when they're approaching a store like yours. They're approaching it with the mindset that this should be better for the planet. If I'm going to pay more, then this should be making some kind of difference, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't necessarily think people should have to pay more for it to be good for the environment or good for their health.
That's so smart.
But what I would say is that all of our products we offer discounts on, because we get them in bulk and we're able to. So we offer between 20 and 45% on average on any of our products compared to the same brand in stores. So our shampoo, if you get it pre-packed in a 500 ml container, it's from Annika. It'll be between $12.50 to $16 pre-filled at a drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
If you get it from us and you fill it all the way, it's 30% off that price.
That's crazy.
So we're giving the financial incentive. It's just that exact brands that we're offering aren't necessarily comparable to the cheapest of cheap brands that you'll find in your other traditional stores.
Yeah, exactly. Where can people find you and Bear Market online, or when's your next pop-up?
I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so people can find Bear Market online on our website, www.bearmarket.ca. That's bear as in naked.
You're not like bears and rar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had so many bear puns lined up for this, and I haven't used a single one, so you're lucky.
I would have barely put up with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stole that one.
So we can find you online.
Yeah,
when's your next pop-up?
Online. Wait, I want to say 1 second. On. Please edit this part out.
I will not.
Oh. I would say we're most active on Instagram.
Oh, great.
I say we, but it's really me. I sometimes forget to repost on Facebook.
Yeah, that's fine.
But we technically have accounts on both, and our handle is at Bear Market, except market has no values, so it's BAREMRKT.
Okay.
And in our Instagram, we're actually really active in our stories, which not everyone checks, but a lot of stories, and we don't post too much.
And we can see the behind the scenes of you loading a vehicle full of very breakable, very heavy bottles.
You get to see me embarrassing myself a lot.
Embarrassing yourself? Sorry, go on.
You should see the ones from today. And our next pop-up, so we are at Patagonia the last Sunday of every month up until the end of August, I believe.
Awesome.
In May, we're at the Parkdale Zero Waste Fair on May 11th, and then we're going to be adding a few farmers markets into the mix throughout the summer, both the Withrow Farmers Market and the Leslieville Farmers Market once a month.
Great, and we'll be able to find all of that information on your website too, right? And on Instagram?
It's near the top of our website, always posted, and also in our Instagram profile, we post the next upcoming pop-up or two.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making yourself available, even though your computer died and all this craziness. And
yeah, I'm really sorry about that, but absolutely my pleasure. I love chatting with other people who are doing cool things and, pushing the needle forward.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. Take a look at the show notes for links from today's conversation, particularly the link to Bear Market's next pop-up shops around the city. You can find Dayna and Bear Market on their website, bearmarket.ca, and on Instagram at bearmrkt. Remember, you can find me on Instagram at Elsbeth Callahan and at Practically Zero Waste Pod. And the podcast team is growing, people, so if you're contacting the show, you might receive a response from our excellent social media director, Emma Collins. Welcome to the team, Emma. Have a great week, everyone, and talk to you soon.